All right, folks, it's Earl the Money Coach, and today we're talking about building wealth. It's so important that you build wealth, but you build it correctly. Now, there's a few rules when it comes to building wealth, but I will always say number one is you want to make sure that you outpace inflation. If you're building your wealth or have your retirement in accounts that aren't outpacing inflation, you're technically, yes, your money could be safe, but you're safely going broke. So you need to understand why is it so important to outpace inflation when you're building wealth. That's number one. Number two, if you're building wealth for retirement, the key is 25. And what does that 25 mean? It means 25 years. If you stop working today, will your retirement and investments be able to have you sustain the same way of living for the next 25 years? And the reason why that's so important is because remember back in the day, the average life expectancy was only 61. So when pensions were first invented, when Social Security was first invented, the average life expectancy was 61, but retirement was 65. So most people never made it to retirement. But we went from having life expectancy from 61 all the way up to 87, 89, and beyond. So that means you have to have enough funds for the next 15, 20, 25 plus years. So when you're building wealth, you want to calculate, is it enough to maintain my lifestyle for the next 25 years? Okay. And then number three is the retirement red zone. The retirement red zone, when it comes to building wealth, is 5 years before retirement, 5 years after your retirement. That's a big issue. I have clients who still keep their money in variable accounts where they could lose money potentially. They retire. And then what happened last year in 2022? The 401ks are averaging about 18% down. So imagine you retire for 2 years from say 65, 66, 67. Life is good. 2022 hits and your nest egg just took a 20% loss. So that's why it's super important to have that retirement red zone structured. So you don't have your money and all your eggs in that basket where it's very volatile, where you could lose funds. Okay. Those are the three main steps for building wealth right there. But now let's talk about the keys to building wealth. It's not just having the wealth, it's transferring the wealth. How to bring generational wealth out there. That's when you start having your wills and more importantly, your trust. And understand those are two different things. People think, oh, my parents have a will, I'm good to go. A will let you know exactly what you have and who's going to get what. How is it going to be distributed? But that's not stopping the taxes. If you have a house, it's not stopping probates. That's when you want to have a trust in play because a lot of times, a lot of generational wealth is lost because they don't know how to transfer it correctly. So you want to make sure that you have that when it comes to building wealth. Now, what ways to build wealth? What strategies are out there to build wealth? Well, technically, it's up to you. If you're more risky, you might want some variable accounts. If you're more on the safe side, you might want some index accounts. If you want to have something long term, you may look into your real estate. Or if you want to just have something where you set it and forget it like Warren Buffett. Many different styles. I don't like telling people what's the best one, but the best thing to know about building wealth is you have to learn what we call your FIN number is. Your FIN, F-I-N, FIN number is your financial independence number, which is how much money you need to retire and not have to go back to work. That's how you get to that 25 plus years of retirement. Now, how do you find your FIN number? It's a very simple equation. What you're going to do is you take your expenses, not what you make, take your expenses. So say you make $7,000 a month in the household, your expenses are $5,000 a month. You're going to take that $5,000 for the expenses. Take your expenses, obviously times it by 12 because there's 12 months in the year. So in this scenario, it'll be 60,000 and then divide it by 0.06%. Take your expenses for the year and divide it by 0.06%. Why? Because wealthy people don't live off their money. They live off the interest their money makes. And that key now these days, it used to be 2%, then 4%. Now you need more like 6%. So what kind of investment accounts could pay out a conservative 6%? That way you can maintain your lifestyle. That's why you need to figure out your FIN number. So in this scenario, if your expenses are $50,000 a month, you're going to need, $5,000 a month, you're going to need $1 million. Why? Because $1 million at a conservative 6% is $60,000 a year, which is $5,000 a month. Once you figure out your FIN number, then you can start working towards it. Make sure that you have your will and trust in play. Make sure you have everything for 25 years and make sure you outpace inflation. Put all those steps together and you're going to generate wealth.